So, it's time to embark on this little endeavor of mine. I feel that throughout the entire year, I've missed my quota of doing absolutely insane feats of effort, and I thought that it'd be nice to do something a tiny bit different. If you didn't catch my trailer, throughout the month of December, I am going to be reviewing every single official Nicktoon. You heard that right. I'm going to try and get each and every single one of them reviewed. Oh yeah, it's going to be a palooza. Now, I'm not going to be reviewing things like just a pilot that lasted one episode, or shows that aired exclusively on Nicktoons Network, like Making Fiends or Constant Pain. And I'm not going to tackle any of Nickelodeon's imported shows like Pelswick, Wayside, or Yakety Yak. Maybe some other year, but not this one, cause that still leaves us with around 50 shows by my count. We're doing everything from Ren and Stimpy in 1991 to the Casa Grandes in 2019. That's 28 years of content that I'm going to be trying to go through in a little bit more than 28 days. And yes, I am going to be revisiting shows that I have seen in the past, some of which that I've even talked about and reviewed on this channel. We're going to get to see how well my opinions hold up. Some of these shows I'm really excited to revisit, others not so much. Some of the shows like El Tigre or The X's I've actually never seen in my life. And I know that I've gotten a ton of requests for shows like Tak and the Power of Juju or Back at the Barnyard. And now you guys are finally getting your chance to see what I think about them. These reviews aren't going to be as complex as the original Legend of Korra review, but I hope that it is enough and it gives you guys something to look forward to throughout this December. Unfortunately, we're going to need to start with Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, you like the game, huh? Well, how do you like these?
If you haven't heard, Ren and Stimpy's creator has been going through a lot of controversy in the past couple of years. If you're interested in hearing more about that, there are a few videos you can look up. I do go into the controversy slightly in my Cancel Out Labels review, but I'd highly recommend the video by Blame It on George. We're here to talk about the actual show, Ren and Stimpy, and not the creator of Ren and Stimpy. Because with Ren and Stimpy, there's actually a lot to talk about. It's hard to deny that Ren and Stimpy is one of the most influential shows of the 90s, and we still see its influence to this day, for better or for worse. And that's beyond obvious. So let's start with the really obvious. Ren and Stimpy is an incredibly gross show, and I have a feeling that if you don't enjoy that 90s booger-infused flavor, you might have a hard time revisiting this one. I'm not saying that Ren and Stimpy is all gross out as it's stereotyped, because it's not, but there's no denying that you need to get past that if you want to enjoy this show on any level. There was a lot of talent that went into the show. While the characters were made of very simple shapes, as was normal at the time, the expressions are often these phenomenal deranged stills. But what really makes the humor work is the slapstick. Personally, I think that this show is up there with the original Tom and Jerry and how well they convey the humor of physical pain. Watching the show can make you feel like you've downed a barrel of pixie sticks, made out of crack. The scenarios of the episodes are bizarre. It can feel very much like a young child's fever dream, and it really is a show like no other, in a way that I have a hard time describing.
It's happening again! My brain! My hot, stinging brain!
This show has been ripped off time and time again. Nickelodeon tried making their own Ren and Stimpy with Cow and Chicken, and that didn't pan out nearly as well.
Butts and taters, please. Hey, this isn't pork butts and taters. This is dog food. It's Tuesday. I always have pork butts and taters on Tuesday.
Disney tried making Schnookums and Meat, which was nothing more than a pale imitation. And those were some of the better rip-offs of Ren and Stimpy. Shows like Mega Babies aired throughout all of the 90s, trying to capture this bizarre magic here. But most of them did not see the forest for the trees, and all they thought they needed to do was just be as gross as possible. But you'll notice that the episodes touted as the greatest Ren and Stimpy episodes of all time actually aren't all that gross.
No sleep. No sleep. No bed. No. Bed.
At least not comparatively to the other ones. No one talks about the episode where Ren and Stimpy dressed up like babies, for instance. They talk about episodes like Stimpy's Invention because it has a wide variety of humor. This episode in particular took, over a year to come out? You can see that work in every single frame. The timing is outstanding and each joke lands. In a way, Ren and Stimpy helps form Nickelodeon's identity. It was the less clean and proper network compared to its later rivaled Cartoon Network, and especially Disney. Nickelodeon was more likely to get down and dirty, and that eventually transcended into their live-action shows as well, with the trademark Nickelodeon slime.
Hello? We are the UN Wiener Inspectors.
I guess the obvious question on your mind might be do I like Ren and Stimpy? I'll have to admit that Ren and Stimpy is one of those shows that I respect a lot more than I like. I don't often go out of my way to watch Ren and Stimpy for personal viewing pleasure, unless I have to watch it for things like my Halloween special way back when, or the Cans Without Labels review. And I don't mind it as much as you think I might, because it doesn't have as much gross out as you might think. It's definitely there, and it can be distracting, but it's not like every single crevice is filled with gross out. I don't really enjoy watching Ren and Stimpy because I like watching shows that focus more on their stories. Pure comedies don't really do much for me, and Ren and Stimpy barely ever touches on plots, even less so than other shows that focus mostly on their comedy, like say SpongeBob or Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Squeak! Squeak! Squeak, I tell you, squeak!
I definitely do have to respect Ren and Stimpy, because it did lead to a more creative-driven era that more or less defined the 90s. I don't think shows like Rocko's Modern Life or Hey Arnold could have existed without something as era-defining as Ren and Stimpy, and how much it really did change everything. And without Nickelodeon's early 90s dominance, we probably wouldn't have gotten the cartoons of the mid-90s. This is the cartoon of the original 3 Nicktoons that everyone seems to remember, more than even Rugrats, which lasted longer, and definitely more than Doug. I would definitely recommend looking at Ren and Stimpy if you're interested in animation history alone, but if you want a simple laugh, a good episode of Ren and Stimpy can easily bring you there.
I'm so angry. First, I'm gonna tear your lips out. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
That being said, you gotta pick a good episode. There are bad episodes, even before the adult party cartoon era, which I am not talking about here. After John Kay was fired in 1993, the rest of the show was given to Games Animation. They were able to get the show done on time and on budget, but a lot of the episodes did lose their soul, and hardcore Ren and Stimpy fans would suggest avoiding those, instead going with the originals. One of your safer bets, though, is watching any episode that was directed by Bob Camp. John Kricfalusi gets all of the fame, or infamy as it were, for Ren and Stimpy and its legacy, but Bob Camp was actually one of the most important people in its development, and it's sad that the guy doesn't get any fame for one of the most important cartoons of all time. Seriously, the guy was a developer, he did storyboards, writing, direction, he produced, and he was a voice actor on many episodes. The guy put his heart into this show, and if you're really curious, maybe check out a couple of episodes. Stimpy's Invention, Sven Hoek, Stimpy's Fan Club, these are episodes that you can't go wrong with. If those aren't for you, then this show isn't for you. And it's definitely a show that's not for everyone. But if you really want to take a chance, you could buy the whole series. It's available on Amazon, and it costs you less than buying yourself a copy of Cans Without Labels. No, I'm not kidding. John Kricfalusi has been selling his 11-minute Kickstarted cartoon for more than Amazon sells the entirety of Ren and Stimpy. This wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. What's next? Oh, yay, the show about a funny who isn't funny at all. Okay.
This is a song about being happy. That's right. It's the happy, happy, joy, joy song. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy. I don't think you're happy enough. That's right. I'll teach you to be happy. I'll teach your grandmother to suck eggs. Now, boys and girls, let's try it again. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy,